Good evening, folks. This is the Factivist Report for Sunday, May 7th, 2023. And tonight we continue our discussion on the press's dismal performance on transgender issues. Not all of the press, by the way, not all of the media. But last week we talked a little bit about the New York Times, and tonight we're going to be talking about the Wall Street Journal.
Now,
here's Dave.
I want to start with a little introduction. We all know that the transgender rights issue has become a hot button and a hot topic, not only because of press coverage, but also because of the right wing's increase in anti-LGBT legislation. For the most part, I'm not going to be talking about the transgender in sports issue. I know that Joe Biden has proposed something, basically calling out lawmakers, saying, "Listen, if you think that transgenders in sports are a hazard or an issue, prove it, and then we'll move from there." But other than that, most of this is going to be about gender affirming care. So, as people who have been following this know, it's becoming more of a hot topic. Zooey Zephyr, who was in Montana, she continues to be silenced and continues to have to remotely. As far as I know, I don't believe anything has changed there, because she said that if transgender care or gender affirming care was banned in Montana, that basically that Republicans would have blood on their hands. To which the Republicans, "Oh, she's an insurrectionist, she's threatening us," and all of that. No.
Well, it's funny, I said that in a video today about guns. And, honestly, I can't tell you how many times the term blood on your hands has been used in Congress over the last 100 years, but it's been a lot. So Zooey Zephyr is not paying the price because of her statement. Zooey Zephyr is paying the price because she's transgender in Montana.
Yep.
It's exactly what it is.
And the ironic thing and the hypocritical thing is that anti-LGBTQ plus rhetoric, whether it be in politics and entertainment, on quote unquote Fox News, wherever, it fuels violence against LGBTQ. It's basically stochastic violence. They're stirring people up. The blood on your hands, come on. But calling for the elimination of transgenders, what do you think people are going to do? They're going to start becoming more violent among transgenders. And Rachel Levine, I understand she's a transgender herself. She works in the medical field within the government. She has recently said that transgender healthcare is an equity issue. The parents and adults, the adult transgenders and the parents of transgender children and transgender youth should have the right to decide what's best for them and their kids.
Correct.
That's
not the government's place.
That shouldn't be a political statement. Everyone has that right.
That's right.
There is.
I mean, I don't understand how these people can think they can just generalize like that and just blanket ban everything, thinking that they're doing the right thing. They're not involved in any of these people's lives. This person who is living with a transgender child in Massachusetts may not be having the same experience that the person living with a transgender child in Montana is having on any level. So blanket banning this kind of stuff is inexcusable, in my opinion. These people need to be doing their fucking jobs.
And by the way,
their nose where it doesn't belong.
In North Dakota, where the governor banned uh, transgenders in sports and banned pronouns from being used, there's no cases of that happening in that state. He was being proactive.
Yeah, he's being
proactively hateful.
Right.
Uh,
I just read an article today about Minnesota becoming a safe haven,
right.
For states around that area. I mean, it's ridiculous that we have women having to travel out of state to get abortions, being left in parking lots until they're sick enough to get abortions because doctors are afraid to touch them in states where abortion is banned. And we have transgender people having to either move out of where they live or to transport their kids to another state to get drugs and care. This is just unconscionable. I don't understand how people can just sit back and not be infuriated by it. And I don't give a shit if it's not in your backyard, because someday there's going to be an issue that may be in your backyard.
And one person on social media, she's trying to find a safe haven for her child. She was thinking about Colorado, and the child is terrified because that safe haven would have been in Beaubert's district.
Right.
Okay, so these politicians also have effect on people. They're supposed to be representing everyone, by the way, not just people they disagree with. There have been recent studies within the past 2-3 years about the increase of suicide attempts by transgender teens, and I don't think you don't really need a study to say that when someone is having issues with their identity and you see on television or in the schoolyard or whatever, they're calling you a piece of blank, and they're calling a violence against you and saying you're worthless and all of this, that would have an effect on you. I don't think that you really need a study for that. So one of these studies, this is an issue that's being studied worldwide now. Something from the Canadian Medical Association Journal. You might want to check it. Just a nationally related, representative population-based study of youth in Canada and the suicide rates. So it's something to consider. I know we talked about the New York Times at length last week, and I'm going to reiterate. The Human Rights Campaign is informational based, okay? And they are advocates for LGBTQ plus, hardcore. They did speak out against some of the things that the New York Times were saying, and they sent a joint letter out against the New York Times talking about the representation of transgenders in the paper, the fact that there's no one really speaking for them, but there's a lot of people speaking, let's say, not conspiracy theories, but myths about them as opinion pieces. That was a big thing. One of the things that I noticed in here is that the Human Rights Campaign mentioned a story, all right, from the New York Times talking about a study stating that the recidivism rate, which means the number of transgenders who have started, please tell me if I'm getting this wrong, but they basically back out of transitioning.
Okay.
Is low. Now, here's what I have an issue with the New York Times. Few transgender children change their minds after 5 years study finds, and then they qualify it. But the study, which began in 2013, may not fully reflect what's happening today when many more children are identifying as transgender. They just delegitimize the study in its own, in their own
sneaky way.
Title, in their own sneaky way, in their own title. Here is Christina Olson, who was the director of the study. The study started in 2013. She's continuing to research this. This was a study, I believe it was about 300 people. I can't remember the name of it. Oh, there we go. Trans Youth Project. Okay. It was the first large-scale national longitudinal study about 300 socially transitioned transgender study. Study started in 2013 when the children were ages 3 to 12. The mental health and we'll be following them for 20 years. Interested in gender development and the mental health as well as well-being of transgender children. We're done recruiting for the study, but we continue to recruit new families with gender nonconforming and transgender youth for other projects. So they are following these kids from age 3 to 12. And that's a lot of work because some of these kids, I would imagine, have committed suicide. Some of these kids have moved. Some of these kids have had issues one way or another. So one of the things that impressed me about Christina Olson is that she's not interested in just transgender kids. What she was generally interested in is the self-esteem of children in general, and she was really interested in this topic because of the intricacies of it. So she doesn't have an agenda per se. So get out of here.
I also want to just say one thing. So what if a child decides in 5 years they don't want to do this anymore?
Right.
So fucking what? Okay? All I want to know is, what does that mean? So as opposed to going through that, we should deny them their rights from the time it starts? Is that what we're saying here? So what? So what if it changes? People change all the time.
To me, that is feeding into the parents' fear, doubt, etc.
Yeah.
Well, they might not want to do it, and it might just be a phase. Oh, it's a trend.
It's not a phase.
No, it's not a phase, and it's not a trend.
It's never been a phase, and I actually don't believe that the recidivism rate is very high, actually.
It's not.
It's not. And that's not the point, okay? The point is, this is not the government's business. It is not the politicians' business, and it is not your business.
And please,
the general public.
Let me say this too. I am not delegitimizing anyone who goes on TikTok and relates their story about detransitioning. I'm not doing that. Okay? It's your story. And those are anecdotal stories. You have a right to tell your story.
When I was a kid, I was considered a tomboy.
Right.
I hated dresses. I always remember my mother wanted to give me banana curls and put me in a dress. My father would say, "Oh, Franny, leave her alone." As an adult, I actually really fucking hate women's clothes. I don't think they're made as well as men's clothes.
Right.
More comfortable in men's clothes.
Right.
I don't know what to tell you. I'm not thinking about transitioning, though. That's my point. My point is, people come in all shapes and sizes. Okay. I knew at a very young age I was a lesbian. I'm going to tell you right now on camera, I've never been with a man sexually in 68 years. And don't ask me how I know what I'm missing. I could be missing something. Don't even go there with me. Okay. I know I'm not interested.
You're probably missing what, crabs and clap and.
I've never honestly even given it a second thought, and I'm fine. I'm just saying that This is the way it is. I don't understand why people have to stick their noses where it doesn't belong. It just
When I was a child, I was 4 years old. My mom was pregnant. Okay. I started carrying a doll around. I didn't understand why my father was so upset and screaming the word faggot all the time. I didn't get it. Doctors or whoever were telling him it's perfectly normal. He wants to be a big brother, you know. And my father was a homophobe, was a bigot in many ways. Uh, and you know, you're going to have people now who would feed him misinformation on this stuff like like never before. So one thing also that studies have shown that the number of people who identify as transgender has risen. It's about 1.6 million in the US.
out of 335 million people, what the fuck are you all worried about? Mind your business.
But the issue is we do not know the cause. That's all you have to say. There are a lot of people who are putting out oh, these people are probably just tomboys. Oh, it's a fad, it's a phase. People want to rebel against their parents. Where is the data?
Why did my mother have two girls who were perfectly willing to wear dresses and carry dolls around the house? And why did she have one that, carried around,
a flamethrower and a machine gun?
Playing cowboys and Indians and put my dolls, I put them on a rocking horse. I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
It's
right.
I don't want a study done on me. I'm fine. I feel perfectly fine as who I am right now.
So
my father used to say to her, leave her alone. You got two others you can dress up.
I did put in here from the Southern Poverty Law Center a piece on anti-LGBT groups and that sort of thing. So look at it at your leisure. And I want to show this. This is from the American Academy of Pediatrics. It is basically their mission statement. And I want people to understand where they're coming from. All right. As I reflect on the recent AAP leadership conference, and AAP again, it is the American Academy of Pediatrics, where pediatricians from across the country gathered in person for the first time in 3 years. I feel a tremendous sense of pride. Pediatricians are guided by our values. We believe in the inherent worth of all children, that each and every one deserves optimal health and the highest quality care. We stand on science and keep children front and center. While we know everyone cares about children, especially their own children, the AAP cares about all children, each and every one. This includes children and youth who are transgender. During the conference, pediatricians spoke up in support of a resolution on the need to expand education and training on gender-affirming care. And I was reminded of patient encounters from when I was freshly minted pediatrician. It goes into basically teenagers who are very anxious, have a lot of anxiety, depression about this, and when they are doubted, when their motives are doubted, when their self-worth is doubted, what do you think is going to happen? One teenager told this doctor, if you knew me, you would hate me. This is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with teenagers have a tough time as it is. So when you're dealing with transgenders, it's a whole different challenge. The emotional and psychological trauma of rejection, whether by family, friends, society, or lawmakers, can leave scars that never heal. When we fail to accept people for who they are, we pass painful judgments on them and create so much unnecessary emotional and psychological pain. And understand that out there are politicians, there are quote unquote advocates, there are Christian nationalists that want to eliminate transgenders from the face of the planet.
And by the way, they can tell you that they care about the children. None of this is about the children.
No, it's not.
It's not.
So
we don't want you to care about our children in that way. We want you to take guns off the street so that they're not shot and killed in schools. We want you to fund, preschool. We want you to do all kinds of things that benefit all children. But we don't want you out there telling us what to do with our children.
Right. I wanted to be fair, and I did a search. Number of transgender opinion writers at the Wall Street Journal. None. Came up with one of the anti-transgender opinion articles by Colin Wright. There's a lot of Colin Wright stuff in here, and there's other stuff from other anti-transgender advocacy groups or misinformation groups out there. So now we're going to move on to this article, the American Academy of Pediatrics Dubious Transgender Science. As other countries turn away from hormones and surgery, the AAP won't even allow a debate because they're following the science.
We don't care what countries do.
This is by Julia Mason and Leor Sapir. Both have been shown to be advocates of getting rid of gender affirming care. Okay. Julia Mason is actually part of that group that I'm going to be talking about in a minute. So here we go. We have Colin Wright. He was the one that wrote about every transgender is a tomboy, and that article's here. So hold on one second. Here's Colin Wright's. Here's his website. Okay, Reality's Last Stand. All right. And he has a lot of articles here, but he also has his shop. Okay. Articles, reading list, community, donate, shop, contact, archive, about.
Yeah. What's he saying? Women's clothing?
Here we go. It's his little poster about liberals and conservatives, and guess who is selling it? Elon Musk. Yeah, I'm just saying.
Get out. Get the fuck.
I'm just saying.
I can't. I just can't. I can't.
I know, but I'm saying this is the man who is being allowed to write opinion pieces on the Wall Street Journal. Okay. Here is the Society for Evidence-Based Gender Medicine. Our aim is to promote safe, compassionate, ethical, and evidence-informed healthcare for children, adolescents, and young adults with gender dysphoria. The problem with this is that they mix some of the scientific data with their own agenda, getting rid of gender-affirming care. And here is Jack Turban, who has been promoted by the Association for American Pediatrics. He's an assistant professor of child and adolescent psychiatry at the University of California, San Francisco, an affiliate facility at the Philip R. Lee Institute for Health Policy Studies. His research focuses on the mental health of transgender and gender diverse youth and has appeared in, here we go, the New England Journal of Medicine, JAMA Pediatrics, JAMA Psychiatry, the American Journal of Public Health, and the Journal of American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry. All right, and this is his website. He shows these are op-eds. Feel free to read his op-eds as opposed to Colin Wright's. Interviews, research. These are all of the peer-reviewed studies that he's been involved in since 2017. Okay. And his textbook that he has written or has collected. What does he not have on here? Now, he also is on Twitter, but what does he not have on here? He doesn't have a GoFundMe page. He doesn't have a link to other activists. He doesn't have a link to Elon Musk. He doesn't have his blog. He doesn't have a shop. To me, that shows me. And again, this is Colin Wright again. This is the guy with the shop. Home, about, contact, resources, Substack, and store. Again, Reality's Last Stand.
Just the fucking title is insulting, in my opinion.
Just saying.
And at Swipe Right. Come on, Bubba. Honestly,
because his name is Colin Wright.
I can't stand it though. I'm sorry.
Colin Wright.
Yeah, you know what that means. Swipe right.
Every tomboy is tagged transgender. Now, if he is a doctor,
I think I'll write to him. I wasn't.
Right.
Right. RIGHT, not right as a WRI.
Right.
Right.
The terminology. Then, by the way, this on its face is ludicrous because all you have to do is find one tomboy that was not tagged transgender. By the way, we found one. Hi, Colin. Right here.
Hi, ass face. I'm sorry. I can't. My tolerance level after dealing with all of these people since 2017, my tolerance level is really very low right now.
So,
look, you've run out of free articles. That's a break.
Yeah. Basically, what he's making the leap. Okay, he's making that leap. Remember, there is legitimate information out there saying that people who have described themselves as transgender have dramatically increased. That's true. But he's making the leap. Oh, it's because everybody is a tomboy. It's a fad. It's a this. It's a that. Just saying.
Yeah. Show me the data. Then we'll talk.
Another one by Colin Wright. When asked what are your pronouns, don't answer.
Yeah, that's real good science.
Exactly. So.
Hello, my pronouns are I, me, mine. That's what they should be saying for him. And the Wall Street Journal is publishing this.
They're publishing it, yeah. They have these guys. Colin Wright is a frequent contributor. Actually,
the Wall Street Journal is essentially right wing. It is. Yeah. It always has been.
Again, this is what needs to be emphasized. Deb told me that we need to emphasize this, that no matter what, all of this information, you have to know that the bottom line is that each LGBTQ person is free to live their life openly with their equal rights ensured. It gets a little tricky when you're talking about teenagers because then they have to basically their parents, it's a little more difficult, especially if parents don't um, accept them right away. There is data out there that states that children are not don't aren't fully formed to process. One of these doctors, I think it was Julia Mason, I think it was, said that they want to push it back and not allow anybody to process until they're 25.
That's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It really is.
So, Society for Evidence-Based Gender Medicine.
Can I just say something from a personal level before you start this? So, I knew my child at a very young age was not the same as all the other little boys he was playing with.
Right.
Never verbalized it to me until he was 16 years old. Because why? A lot of it probably because he was autistic at a very young age. I will tell you right now, I credit early intervention with the fact that her name is Gwen, that she is now quite socially competent. So the best thing that you can do is just let it be. Let it be. And don't force your child to be something that they're not. That's not loving your child, okay? It is not loving your child. So.
And my father would send me to skin flicks with him as like a 16-year-old, would feed me basically Playboys, and to like, because he thought I was gay. The funny thing is, I never was.
Well,
so I mean, the best thing I could say, I've never been a parent, but I've been a son of a bigot, and it doesn't help. Communicate with your kid. And also, what doesn't help are misinformation groups like this thing, the Society for Evidence-Based Medicine. All right, I showed you the group. It looks like it has a lot of data out there, and it has graphs and charts, and they speak like they care. So it's a nonprofit organization that is known for opposing standards for transgender youth and engaging in political lobbying. The group routinely cites the theory of rapid onset gender dysphoria and claimed that conversion therapy can only be practiced on the basis of sexual orientation rather than gender identity, and it opposes informed consent for transgender healthcare for people under the age of 25.
Absurd. You allow them to drive at 18. You send them to war at 18. Go away.
SEGM is often cited in anti-transgender legislation in court cases, sometimes providing evidence briefs themselves, also called amicus briefs. It is not officially recognized as a scientific organization in the international medical community. Researchers at the Yale School of Medicine issued a report which described SEGM as a small group of anti-transgender activists. Okay. A commentary published in the journal Clinical Practices in Pediatric Psychology described them as a discriminatory advocacy organization. Also, the president of the organization, he was the one. He was the one that advocated for the 25 being the age. Here's the last thing I'm going to mention about SEGM. Large anonymous payments funding dodgy science. Okay, this was in 2021. So there are surprising large donations. Receiving a crowd fund by Company Secretary William Malone, where donations in the tens of thousands of dollars account for the vast majority of their funding. So it's anonymous. We don't know who it is yet. They tried some information, they tried to get the information, but they weren't able to find it. Sadly, we were unable to find either a short version form 990N as is required to be filed for the tax exempt nonprofits like SCGM via the IRS. Even though these three donations between them already amount to over 50,000, and that's the threshold, which they clearly passed this year. For diligence, we searched both the IRS database under their tax identification number and the Idaho Secretary of State Business Search. So there you go, Idaho. Campaigning against transgender health funding. And these people do have medical licenses, right? Again, I'm not going to show this on camera because the person who created this website has asked not to screen share, but there is a transgender site called the Transgender Map. I have links to every single one of these individuals and the group, including Jack Turban himself. So you can take a look at them and discern for yourself. There's also the articles. You might have to pay $1. I apologize for Wall Street Journal. I would do it. If you really want to read the articles, if you want my opinion, they're trash. But if you want to read them, feel free. I don't know. You might be able to find them on Yahoo News. I wasn't able to find them on Yahoo News. And Deb and I know Deb's opinion on this because we spoke on it. Pseudoscience is not opinion.
No.
Okay, we've been through this with anti-vax.
Science is pseudoscience. Pseudoscience is exactly what it is. I mean, I watched an infomercial the other night. I didn't watch it because I was going to buy the product, but I watched it because it was ludicrous. I'm not even going to tell you what it was because, but I watched this infomercial that was like 20 minutes long. And this is what I came away from. This woman supposedly was a gastroenterologist at a big swanky New York hospital. And what I came away with after I looked at all of the stuff that she was saying, and then I tried to find stuff to back it up just because I wanted to see. I came away with this, that she can make a lot more money selling her fucking pills. Well, you could try one, but you might not see any results. So most people buy the 3-pack. If you really want to see the results, you should probably invest in the 6-pack. And for the next 20 minutes, you can get it at this price instead of $600. I mean, it's amazing. It really is. And I said to myself, wow, it's amazing.
Now, I don't see most of these people, except for that one guy, Colin Wright, selling nonsense.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying this pseudoscience. This is exactly what she was doing.
What they are selling, they're selling seminar appearances and things of that nature. Right. You're not necessarily selling products. Right. And the Wall Street Journal should be ashamed of itself. Listen, you want to post those? Fine. I don't have a problem with that. But you're going to do that? You have to invite Jack Turban to post a rebuttal from his point of view.
Right.
That's news. That's
showing both sides.
That's showing both sides. That's journalism.
Right.
Okay.
So, let me just tell you, and then they not to go back to this thing, but then they get into the claim that, these are the things that she was saying have been used for centuries. I wrote them down. I just have to read it. berberine, DGL, star anise, which is a spice that I use in Asian cooking, quercetin, and resveratrol. They've been used for centuries by the ancient Chinese, blah, 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 to cure this. And I wanted to say to her, because that's all they fucking had back then. You know,
right.
It's like, what? You know.
And by the way, apparently she's a time traveler. Apparently she's gotten into her hot tub time machine and found that they did use that. How the hell do you know that they used that
To the conclusion that, you know, she bled everybody she could out of legitimate medicine, and now she was out there to make her bundle. Because
right.
she will. All I ask when you buy at this price is that you send me a testimonial. That's literally what she said. I just can't.
But obviously, these individuals who were posting opinion pieces, I understand they're listed as opinion pieces. But when you put something in a paper like the Wall Street Journal, which does have some prestigious background to it, you know, it does have some juice to it. You're using that juice. And the New York Times, they got hit pretty hard with it. I call on everyone who is interested, transgender activists, everybody, the Human Rights Campaign. I think we should probably write the Human Rights Campaign to attack these people as well,
right,
and the credibility of these people as well, because the Wall Street Journal, you should know better. Okay, again, if you want to,
what if they fudged numbers like that? What if they just decided to report stocks as a matter of opinion?
Right. This is, I mean, also, this is popular. This is a new popular thing. Oh, we're whistleblowers. We're talking against the American Association of Pediatrics. We're talking about against Fauci. We're talking about against blah blah blah. I know, but it's again pseudoscience. Judy Mikovits, of all people.
Yep.
And these guys are seeing how popular this is. They're going to glom on the anti-science craze.
Yep.
And I understand that the transgender issue is a hot topic right now, but it really needs to be covered in a more responsible way. And I'm not saying that that no one does that, but people should be called out on these opinion pieces more often.
Because, you know, they're playing with people's lives. Okay?
Oh, this doctor's opinion. It's like, you know, 1 out of 5, blah, blah, blah. You know, it could be because it's a legitimate study. It could also be that 4 out of 5 of those doctors are fucking quacks.
Right.
Okay. Right. So if you see some of those, so that doesn't necessarily mean anything. These people have been basically, they've either taken themselves out of legitimate organizations, or they've been kicked out.
Right. And by the way, RFK is another one.
Right.
Not so much on the transgender thing, but he's a purveyor of one of the most virulent purveyors of misinformation. This is a man who was a respected environmental attorney who realized he could make more money doing what he's doing now, which is spewing bullshit. Okay?
And by the way, these people are being quoted in anti-transgender legislation. Now, I don't know if they're being paid as quote unquote experts. I wouldn't be surprised. They're getting something out of this. They're getting something monetarily out of this. There's nothing free.
These people, nothing.
No.
You know, and by the way, leave it to the right wing to use them as the bellwether,
right?
Because they've just got no. I don't know. They've got no. I would say they've got no smarts, but they really just don't have any character.
The most dangerous part about this is that these types of people muddy the waters for legitimate research studies.
Right.
And you have to take a look. You have to take a look at this stuff because you see on the news, oh, a research study here and a research study there. And a couple of years ago, it was the COVID stuff. Now it's, and you have to look at the study. A lot of times, the newspapers, and I understand they can't, it's going to be dry reading and all that, and they can't like put 5 pages of dry reading in there, but you can't just put the conclusion that they had.
Right.
Because people are going to be like, oh, masks are bad, masks are good, this is this.
Yeah.
So
okay,
that's what we have.
That's what we got. We'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Later.